Welcome to EVTN News. At EVTN News, we identify as the #1 news channel, the #1 Catholic news channel, even better than LifeSite News, even better than Church Militant. And I'm bringing you the news today after a long delay. And so I'm going to just go to the different news stories rather than offer a whole lot of my commentary. I think I like to do EVTN, and I like to do the format where I can edit it and I guess cut in the titles, the graphics, the music, all that good stuff. But today we're just doing live EVTN because there's a lot of stories to cover within the last several weeks. So the first big story is that Pope Francis had surgery. He's recovering, and they said he was going to take like a week to recover. So maybe we won't be hearing any kind of comments from Pope Francis for a week, and so maybe it'll be a slow news cycle. But who really knows? The news cycle is unpredictable. So moving on to the Vigano story. There's a few Vigano stories. He had a comment on the SSPX, and I don't think I caught every single Vigano article that was posted, but this one, some quotes here, and so I'm just going to read that to you. He says, I do not believe Bergoglio has any interest in the liturgy tout court and a fortiori in the Tridentine liturgy, which is as alien to him and disliked as anything remotely reminiscent of Catholicism. His approach is political. He tolerates the Ecclesia Dei communities because they keep the conservatives out of the parishes, and at the same time, he maintains control over them, forcing them to limit their descent solely to the liturgical level while ensuring their fidelity to the conciliar ideology. With regard to the Society of St. Pius X, we are witnessing a more subtle maneuver. Bergoglio maintains good neighborly relations, and while recognizing certain prerogatives of its superiors, thus demonstrating that he considers them living members of the Church, on the other hand, he may want to barter their complete canonical regularization for an acceptance of the conciliar magisterium. It is clear this is an insidious trap. Once an agreement is signed with the Holy See, the independence which a society enjoys in virtue of its position of not being completely regular would be lost, and with it the economic independence. Let's not forget that the society has assets and resources that guarantee sustenance and security for its members. At a time when the Vatican is experiencing a serious financial crisis, those assets are certainly enticing to many, as we have seen in other cases, stating that starting with the Franciscans of the Immaculate and the persecution of Father Manelli. Now, Father Manelli, I believe, it referenced him, the Franciscans of the Immaculate. I believe he was a traditional Franciscan, and Francis, I don't know who suppressed Father Manelli. That'd be an interesting thing to look into. I'm sure some of the viewers know. But Vigano on the SSPX, he always has interesting things to say, and this one he was very analytical on this, but I don't know if he's been in communication with the SSPX, but we also don't know if he's been in communication with anyone, because Roberto Di Mattei suggests that Vigano had a ghostwriter. Actually accused him of uh, having a ghostwriter several times. He dug in, and it's a very weird situation. I haven't really looked into this significantly, but I know Taylor Marshall had a video on it, and he thinks that Vigano does not have a ghostwriter. LifeSite had a few authors that also said that they do not think that Vigano has a ghostwriter. They seem pretty confident that he does not. And Roberto Di Mattei, he's before this Vigano attack, he was very pro jab, and he was actually really respected for a while up until the shutdowns. But after, he kind of seemed to sway a little bit with the jab, and he was really promoting it very hard. So it just seems like he's kind of gone a little crazy. So that's all I really have to say on that. I mean, you can look into it a lot more, and Taylor Marshall does have a video on this, and that's kind of the idea of EVTN, is that some of these popular uh, YouTubers like Taylor Marshall, they're going to tell talk about these things, tell these the full story, And I'm just going to summarize it and give you the information that, if you're interested, you can read the links, you can look more into it. The next story is Cardinal Zen. He does not support restricting Summorum Pontificum, which, I mean, a lot of bishops don't, a lot of cardinals, not a lot of cardinals, some of the good cardinals don't. But he has some good quotes. In his blog post, Zen said that he has worked for liturgical reform, but he cannot forget the Mass of his childhood. So they felt such reverence. I was so fascinated, and still am, by the beauty of the Gregorian chant, that I think that experience has nourished my vocation to the priesthood as for so many others. He added that he remembers many Chinese faithful, says I don't think everyone knew Latin, participating with great enthusiasm in these liturgical ceremonies, just as I can now testify about the community that participates in the Tridentine Mass in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong has a Latin Mass, isn't that cool? The Cardinal says that he thinks Mass in the extraordinary form is not divisive. On the contrary, it unites us to our brothers and sisters of all ages, to the saints and martyrs of all times, to those who have sought for the faith, who have fought for the faith, and who have found it in an inexhaustible spiritual nourishment. So Cardinal Zen is not oblivious to reality in this situation. That's good. He's 89 years old, so Cardinal Zen, keep up your prayers, keep saying the Latin Mass, and we'll have a lot of people that support him. So speaking of support, there was a lot of support for a canceled priest. Father James Parker, he is from the Diocese of Rockford, Illinois, under Bishop David Malloy, and he has been canceled. So he was asked to leave his parish without a reassignment. So whenever, and there's certain canonical rights, I guess, a priest has to a parish whenever he's a pastor. So he has to be at a parish for like a certain number of years, like 6 years or something. He could be at a parish, and I don't really understand the whole deal with it, but I think there's level of obedience too. Like when you're a diocesan priest, it's there's some level of obedience to the bishop. If the bishop asks you to move to a different parish, I don't know of very many priests, if any, who have ever fought that. And Father Parker, this is different though because he wasn't reassigned; he was just removed. He had received backlash for a number of things, including inviting Bishop Athanasius Schneider to speak at his parish, for celebrating Mass ad Orientem, for expressing his intention to put up a communion rail for his parishioners. And he says, when the bishop came out with that letter, I guess the one that was removing him, that was like a line of demarcation, and my personal feeling is that it's the Cardinal Supich effect. He's friends with Malloy. He's the diocese right next door to us. I personally thought that Supich was fighting against tradition. It's my personal opinion that it would win him points with Supich. And I think it looks like he had actually left the parish as of the recording of this video. And LifeSite had an interesting article on it. You can read more information there if you want to get the lowdown on that. But it looks like, well, he's kind of blaming Supich. He's saying, well, this guy wants to, be good friends with Supich, and that's problematic. So anytime you hear about a bishop giving a priest a hard time for saying Mass ad Orientem, you get kind of skeptical. You kind of have an idea that bishop's not really in it for the Catholicism. So and just a fun little detail here, and I don't have the photo, but I do have the link. Pope Francis met with Spider-Man, but he refused to meet with Cardinal Zen and the Dubia Cardinals Burke and Brandmuller. So that's that's I don't know, what would you say, comical? I don't know, get it? I thought that was pretty terrible. Anyway, getting to Joe Biden, his parish released a statement that says they won't deny communion to anyone. So this parish, it says the statement from the parish council regarding the Eucharist. So it's not even from the priest, it's from the parish council. So it's getting good here. As the Holy Trinity Parish Council, we stand with our Archbishop Cardinal Wilton Gregory concerning the issues surrounding offering the Eucharist to American politicians. As a parish which has a long history of welcoming all, We concur with and support the pastoral approach of our Archbishop. Holy Trinity Catholic Church will not deny the Eucharist to persons presenting themselves to receive it. Cardinal Gregory serves as one of the most prominent ecclesiastical leaders in the current controversy, and so it is therefore shocking and disappointing that his request to postpone the draft of portions of this document about the Eucharist received the minority of votes among the bishops. As Cardinal Gregory stated in the discussions leading up to the vote, the strength of our voice in advancing the mission of Christ has been seriously weakened. Sadly, the recent vote has caused considerable desolation among our parishioners as well as Roman Catholics throughout the nation. As Pope Francis recently affirmed, communion should be viewed not as a prize for the perfect, but a powerful medicine and nourishment for the weak. None of us, whether we stand in the pews or behind the altar, is worthy to receive it. The great gift of the Holy Eucharist is too sacred to be made a political issue. So would you be shocked if I told you this is a Jesuit parish? There's a lot of terrible things here. As a parish which has a long history of welcoming all, do you welcome traditionalists? It's a very point blank question here. Do you welcome traditionalists? Because you say you welcome all. Do you welcome people of the Catholic faith who actually believe in the Catholic faith? That's a serious question. Let's see here. Cardinal Gregory is one of the most prominent ecclesiastical leaders. Yeah, maybe. Let's see. We were shocked and disappointed that his request to postpone the draft portions of the Eucharist received a minority of votes. This was a significant minority of votes. It was like 75 to 25%. It was not unanimous, but it was pretty close. So he's in the significant minority here. And what is it? The strength. Sadly, the recent vote has caused considerable desolation among our parishioners. Well, that's a good reason not to attend the parish, and as well as Roman Catholics throughout the nation. So, Father James Altman said, you know how many Catholics voted for Joe Biden? 0. If this caused desolation among a Roman Catholic throughout the nation, they're probably not a Catholic. I mean, and the viewers, I know the viewers agree with me. I mean, it's just kind of beating a dead horse at this point. And it's crazy. I think this is all I have, but the Pope Francis quote is just so damaging. Not as a prize for the perfect, but as a powerful medicine and nourishment for the weak. You know, this isn't true. He said, like, we shouldn't be, because none of us, whether we stand in the pews or behind the altar, is worthy to receive it. Okay, but have you read the Bible? Like what St. Paul says about that? Have you do you understand that if you're in a state of mortal sin, you cannot receive communion? So this is the typical Jesuit parish and what they would say. Okay, and so on the live chat, that's all I have in this EVTN. So on the live chat, I see a lot of support for the SSPX. Wilton Gregory is completely compromised. He has much to hide. Shameful. Well, speaking of hiding stuff, it's my belief and a lot of other people's belief that Wilton Gregory, he was an archbishop originally from Chicago. He was under Bernardine for 10 years. And, Bernardine was a notorious leftist. And he was instrumental in implementing communion in the hand in the Novus Ordo in the United States. But Wilton Gregory was promoted to D.C. A lot of people believe that he was promoted there because he was promoted there to hide a lot of the McCarrick stuff and the Whirl stuff and all of that stuff. He was promoted there to kind of sweep it under the rug and collaborate with the Vatican on their McCarrick investigation. And as a reward, he was named a cardinal. And I think there's a lot of credibility of that, but I don't have evidence. However, and I stand with Bishop Daly on this one, McCarrick, the McCarrick report did not provide significant information on what's going on now. It provided information on what happened 20 years ago. And he probably 10 years ago? No, not really. I mean, they tried to blame Benedict, but we didn't get any information as to what's going on with the money, McCarrick's money, what's going on with who he promoted, who advanced their positions in the hierarchy because of McCarrick. And we're looking at people like Supich, Tobin, McElroy, and we're saying, well, obviously they're promoting the ideals of the anti-Catholic agenda, and McCarrick was all about staying in the center. If you watched any of his videos, he would just always talk about the same thing, and it was about you can't be too far right, you can't be too far left, you have to stay in the center. And he told a story about Pope John Paul II, how he was walking through a crowd of people, and he didn't go through the right, he didn't go to the left, he went through the center. And he was just, it was like McCarrick, he didn't really have anything important to say, because who knows if he actually believed in the Catholic faith. I mean, it appears that he does, and it appears that he has no remorse for the serious crimes that he committed. Because there was an interview with him. Someone went into that friary in Kansas and interviewed him, and he definitely seemed defiant. But I'm actually curious to see where he to see where he ended up. I got a donation from Mary Ann. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So if you have any questions, Mary Ann, or if you want to talk about anything, let me know. We'll continue this EVTN. I'm out of news, but I really appreciate that donation. And actually, if you're considering donating like large amounts, donate to a monastery. Come on, people. Like, I'm not doing anything except talking about the news here. And people like, I don't know, I guess people like some stuff. I get some likes on my videos, but, and I'm doing, I'm doing what I enjoy. I'm talking about a lot of the things that I like to talk about, but okay. Oh, here we go. Yeah, that's one thing that I didn't talk about. Lyndon, thoughts on churches burning down in Canada. And Lyndon, I do realize that you're Eastern Rite. I see. Thank you for your work, and thank you for your donation. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. The best way you can promote this channel is by sharing, liking, subscribing, and telling your friends about it. But anyway, thoughts on churches burning down in Canada. It's awful. There's been a lot of reactions to it, and I think Brian Holdsworth had a long video on it. I don't know if Father Mark Goring talked about it, but for me, I have a lot of trouble putting that into perspective, really, because if one of my churches were to have burned down, I don't know what I'd do. I mean, I honestly don't know. So it's something that I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into, because it's such an inconvenient thing. It's such a horrible thing. And especially the beautiful churches. But I think the churches that are being torched in Canada are the ones that are on Indigenous property, which is really sad, because a lot of these are kind of mission type of churches. Like, I don't know much about the reservations in Canada, but I know a little bit about the reservations in the United States, and particularly Phoenix. I am aware of some missions to those to those Native Americans in Phoenix. And these churches and these priests, they're really ministering to the people that need it, because a lot of them don't have, like, they have the Catholic faith now, but it's because of these religious orders, and it's because of these priests that go into these places and they preach the Catholic faith. And if these communities grow, it's because of the priests. But if there's any kind of vandalism towards these churches, then a lot of these Catholics on these reservations are not going to have churches, because it's not like a super high priority for the dioceses, sadly, because it's kind of isolated and out kind of far distances away from a lot of places. So let's see here. I was part of the cleanup crew when a historic cathedral in my city was vandalized. It was retagged, and now the standing order is to leave it up. Totally agree with you. And even like I've seen a beautiful church that had some just like weather damage, And it's sad because these places are so beautiful, and you know that the immigrants, I don't know if that was an immigrant place, but the people that worked to build this church, it was obviously not built within the last 50 years, maybe 100 or so years, the church I'm thinking about. And that how much money did they donate to these churches to see them just destroyed, and to fall into disrepair, I guess, is a word that I want to use. And that's, it's sad whenever like the natural forces destroy it, and hopefully there's an insurance policy to restore it. But even when you're talking about restoring, it might be a recavation, because it depends on the people in charge of renovating these churches, what they want to do. Do they want to tear out the high altar, which is actually kind of demonic? Kennedy Hall, I think, mentioned that tearing down the high altars, it's kind of like an iconoclasm heresy. And I remember a while ago, a video I did with Peter the Byzantine, we talked about the modern day heresy of iconoclasm, and it's pretty much the same thing. Um, and the people that are burning down church, and I got to be careful what I say here, because I think these groups are supported by the big corporations. Uh, the intent of these people, it's similar to what happened in the United States about a year ago. Um, that's really with yeah, the destruction. That's all I can really say about that, if you catch my drift. So, all right, well, this has been EVTN News, your source for Catholic information. Obviously, I missed something, but thank you, Lyndon, for bringing it up in the comments. I'm going to try to bring you news that may not be as widely known. Maybe someone will talk about it, and if they do, then you can go watch their, our video on that. Where's Peter? Peter the Byzantine doesn't have a channel. We have some videos on this channel, and it seems like the Byzantine Catholic faith, like the Byzantine Catholic ideas, are fairly popular. I mean, we had a video with several hundred views where we talked about just the Byzantine Catholic faith, just some basics for Romans. And if you ever have a chance to go to a Byzantine Divine Liturgy, go. Let me know your thoughts. Comment on one of the Byzantine videos. Let me know, because it's really cool, and it's very different. It's very different from the Novus Ordo and the Latin Mass. I think the Byzantine Divine Liturgy has a few more similarities to the Latin Mass, but I'd be interested to hear your perspective. All right, well, this has been EVTN News. Thank you so much for watching. We are the laity, and we will not be silent.